What's going on YouTube? This is Klaus from Plant BCs. I just did an interview in that building with James Wilks, the producer of The Game Changers, which is on iTunes already and soon to be a Netflix hit. Features some amazing people, and the interview is fascinating. We spoke about Joe Rogan, as well as controversial keto studies and much, much more. Hope you enjoy. Please subscribe for more. What's going on, everybody? This is Klaus from Plant BCs. I'm with James Wilks. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Klaus.
Congratulations on everything you've achieved.
Yeah, thank you. It's been exciting times.
So, where do you go from here in terms of you've now got it on iTunes, it's coming out to Netflix. There's going to be lots of people interested in the film, like Joe Rogan. He's already spoken about the film, already criticised it, I believe. Said James Cameron, the executive producer's on some weird vegan kick. Are you going to be on the Joe Rogan podcast?
I'm sure I will be. I'm sure Joe will want me on. I haven't talked to him yet about it. But, I think Joe, once he sees this film, it'll be a little bit different than the films he's seen before. Hopefully he'll be open to the evidence because the facts are pretty clear, right? And so if you're not biased and you're really open to the evidence, you'll see that plant-based diets are the way to go, both for athletic performance and for health. And from here, like you said, it's on iTunes, it's also on Google Play and Vudu and Vimeo and YouTube Movies, and we're trying to get it as wide as possible. Netflix, of course, we'll be doing screenings for people.
How is it getting on Netflix? Because normally things on Netflix just stay on Netflix and you can't use the other platforms.
Yeah.
And you probably negotiated with them for a long period of time. How was that, and why is your movie different to every other movie, which when it's on Netflix, stays on Netflix, and they've got exclusivity over it?
Yeah, they have a couple of different deals. So they have a Netflix Originals deal, which we had many offers for, but we didn't want to be restricted. So we basically negotiated to have this as far and wide as possible. And surprisingly, we're getting a lot of demand for DVDs and Blu-rays, so we're going to be putting those out in a couple of weeks as well, because people want to give them out as gifts, right? And then the film's also being accredited by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which means that every doctor and nurse in the United States can get credits by watching the film and taking a quiz that we developed. And they've been asking for DVDs and Blu-rays to hand out to all their patients. Can I have 500 Blu-rays or DVDs? And that's great, right? Because doctors have got an easy way then to give the information to their patients. So we're just trying to get it as wide as possible. So we did negotiate a deal with Netflix in order to do that.
Why do you think, going back to Joe Rogan, why do you think he's so close-minded about plant-based living and this whole narrative of you don't need meat?
Yeah, I think Joe's, he's super into, he's into his hunting. And so if you're a hunter, that's your mindset, right? You feel like, and there's something sort of, generally appealing of like living off nature and sort of living like our ancestors. And a lot of that paleo diet tied in. If you look on Google Trends, if you look at, the paleo diet became the unofficial diet of CrossFit. And if you go on Google Trends and type in paleo and CrossFit, you'll see the correlation. They go up in parallel, right? So there's that sort of idea of working out based on the way that our ancestors did. And then there's this notion, which is false, which is let's eat in the way that our ancestors ate. Of course, we didn't eat like that. And certainly not, maybe in some areas of the world we did at certain times. But, as we moved away from the equator, we were forced to eat some more animal products because plants weren't as available. But of course, now we have grocery stores and supermarkets and we can just go and buy, whatever food we want. But I think that's the notion, I think once Joe Rogan sees the evidence, I think he might change his mind.
Do you think he will, though? He's sponsored by meat companies. I mean, do you think that has any influence?
I think Joe talks too much about veganism to not be in the back of his mind. I mean, he talks about it more than I do. So
do you think that's out of repression? Do you think he talks about it so much because something deep down in him is really interested in it?
Yeah, I think the people that talk that much about it and talk out against it that much are the ones that end up, that's what I've seen, the ones that end up switching. So I do actually think that Joe's going to make a switch, in the coming years to go plant-based.
Was that like you? Were you kind of against it initially when you first heard of that narrative around you don't need meat? Were you like, what the hell?
Yeah, totally. In fact, before I went on this journey, I walked into a restaurant and there was on the menu, it said chicken, but it was spelt funny. I said, well, why is it spelt like that? They said it was not real chicken, it's made from plants. So I said, well, where's the real chicken? Oh, we don't have any. So what meat do you have? We don't have any. Okay, have you got any eggs? And they said, no, it's a vegan restaurant. And I just sort of looked at my buddy and just walked out. I wouldn't have stepped inside a vegan restaurant before, because I thought we had to have meat and animal protein at every meal. So I was definitely on that track. I was eating chicken lean turkey, and then at one point I switched to more of a paleo diet, eating air-chilled chicken and grass-fed beef. But when you dig the research and not just listen to the magazines and the, on the web, if you really dig into the research and look at who funds it, you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, that plants are the way to go.
What do you think is the most unhealthy aspect of this kind of paleo carnivore trend?
Well, it's funny, right? Because the longest study ever done on the paleo diet, they actually showed improved health markers. Now, it might sound contradictory because there's meat in there, but if you actually look at what they were eating, so, they advised people to stop eating dairy, so they did that. So we'd agree that's a good thing, right? Cut out dairy out of your diet. Then they said to eat more fruits and vegetables, right? And we'd all agree that's a good part of the diet. Then they said to cut down on processed foods, and they cut down on processed foods, and that's a good part of the diet. And then they said to increase their meat intake. But the one thing that they didn't do when they followed up after 2 years is they did not increase their meat intake.
Right, even though they could.
They could have done, but they increased their plant foods.
Right, so
they cut down on dairy.
Diet.
They ate a more plant-based diet.
Right.
So the benefits that they're getting are from eating more whole plant foods, cutting out dairy, and not increasing their meat intake. So people couldn't stick to the meat consumption recommendations because they didn't like it. So if you look at that longest study, it had a 2-year follow-up. And it's the longest follow-up they've done on a paleo diet. And they had health markers. Improved health markers.
Sure.
But why was that?
Like weight status and other.
Yeah, their cholesterol.
Glucose and stuff.
Yeah, those types.
Because they ate more plants, ate less processed food.
Yeah.
Which is what you recommend. And
Exactly, and they cut out dairy. So.
Sure.
That's a more plant-based diet.
So do you give any credibility, any credence to this carnivore diet notion where people eating literally just red, raw organ meat? And why do you think people are getting benefits from that? Because I don't think that's something you tackled in the documentary because it's only been a trend in the last year or two.
Right.
But what's your take on that kind of new trend?
Yeah, we touched very briefly. I think we mentioned that it was keto, but there was a study done where they had a randomized controlled trial. They put 2 groups on isocaloric, means the same amount of calories, same amount of protein. They put one on a sort of a normal carb diet, one on a keto diet. And the group in the normal carb diet gained 2.6 pounds of muscle, I think it was, in 8 weeks. And the keto group lost statistically insignificant 0.2 pounds of muscle on the group. So we touched on that very briefly in the film. So that's the keto. But then the carnivore diet, I think people, in the short term, there's many ways to lose weight, for example, right? Yeah. So you could have a cocaine habit, you could have parasites, or you can just eat a bunch of meat. And there's ways to curb your appetite. So you get...
so as you go into ketosis, basically,
yeah, that's one of the things. But also what you're doing is you're getting state-specific satiety. So when you're eating only one type of food, or very limited foods, your body gets sort of fed up with it. So you end up not eating as many calories. So when you lose, you can lose body from that, fat from that in the short term, right?
Right, like if you have an all potato diet or all rice and sugar diet or all meat diet, it's the same concept, I guess.
Yeah, so you'll lose body fat, and when you lose body fat, you typically, in the short term, your health markers improve, right? So I think people are seeing benefits from that. I think people are also seeing benefits from cutting out lots of heavily processed food, right? So if you're eating, drinking lots of soda and eating lots of cookies, and you're eating meat, and then you cut out soda and cookies, and now you're only eating the meat, you've cut out a couple of the bad things, and you're still eating one bad thing, but you're not eating 3 bad things. Right. So I think there's some short-term benefits to that. But I really think we're going to start seeing problems for the people that try and stick to any of these diets on the long term. And I think a lot of people are being dishonest.
In what way?
About what they're eating.
As in
I don't think most of the people that claim to be on it are eating only meat. And also, there's guys that say, I'm on the paleo diet. And I was training with guys that were fighting for the UFC. Now I'm doing the paleo diet. Oh, okay. Then you show up and they're drinking Gatorade right before the training session. And then Gatorade during the training session and Gatorade at the end of the training session. What paleo ancestors were doing that?
Sure, it's a double standard.
Yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, but I felt kind of tired. So down loads of coffee, drinking Gatorade before training. You're not really tracking your nutrients then, and then what are you drinking Gatorade for? They said, yeah, well, I needed the carbs before. Exactly.
Right, which supports your point. Yeah.
Yeah, so that some people are being a bit dishonest about what they're doing.
So you think the doctors and the athletes and the people that support this, you need meat for protein and health narrative, you think they're not just misinformed, there's a kind of lack of integrity there? Almost.
I think there's, not with everybody, I think there's some people probably doing straight up carnivore. You know, they might be getting a little bit of vitamin C from the seasoning they're putting on it. Yeah, I just don't think it's sustainable long term. We know it's not healthy, it's terrible for the planet, and there's no way that it can be optimizing athletic performance or health.
Mm-hmm. So just coming to the end now, you're obviously going to be busy the next month or two, probably thereafter as well, and then what are you going to do with your time?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just promoting the film. We're getting a lot of, we've had like 1,400 official screening requests by email, as well as a couple of thousand more on social media. So I'll probably be doing some screenings. We're focused right now on putting resources and recipes on the website, gamechangersmovie.com. You know, because there's 5 out of 6 people that go meat-free end up going back. And one of the top reasons cited is they don't have the resources or the knowledge. So we've got those recipes on there. We've got tips on how to transition. We've got more of the science. We're going to keep putting more on there. We're going to have an online community on Facebook so people can ask our scientific team questions, talk to the athletes and the experts in the film, you know, talk amongst themselves for tips on how to make changes. Because I think we need that community and we need that support. It's difficult to do on your own. You know, it's easier if you can get your family and your friends on board as well. So hopefully people will share the film with those people, and I think it's going to make a big shift.
Do you have any personal correspondence with James Cameron and Novak Djokovic, all these executive producers?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it seems they're being really supportive.
Absolutely, yeah, really supportive. Arnold's been super supportive. I mean, he was the first one to put the trailer out when we dropped it, and it had 3 million views in the first 24 hours just on his Instagram page.
Lewis Hamilton shared the trailer, Novak Djokovic did. I'm not sure about Jackie Chan, haven't seen his social media.
Yeah, so because we're just about to sign, actually we haven't announced that we're going to sign a deal in China as well.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, the platform has hundreds of, actually twice as many viewers as Netflix does around the world.
Right, so it's like bigger than Netflix there?
Yeah, bigger than Netflix.
And so he was a big part of that, is what
so
you said?
we're holding, he's holding off to promote until it comes out there. But all the other EPs have been extremely helpful and really supportive. Jim Cameron, especially from the very beginning.
How's that been? So you started this journey, and it was just you and Joseph.
Yeah.
And then you probably shot a bit of content,
yeah.
And then it's gone from that to, Hollywood, star-studded,
yeah.
Lots of these people. How's that kind of journey been? And in many ways, they're a big part of its success because they probably helped bring in the investment, which helped bring in the team, and so how's that general experience? Have you got any anecdotes or things that happen behind the scenes that are really pivotal that you haven't spoken about?
I'm not sure if I haven't spoken about them. I mean, Rip Esselstyn, from Engine 2, was in touch with James Cameron. He introduced us. We went out to his home in Malibu, and he was just extremely supportive from the beginning. Of course, he's good buddies with Arnold because of Terminator, and they ride bikes together and ride Harleys together still. So
Novak Djokovic, has he been, obviously he's somebody that's been plant-based for a few years,
yeah.
But hasn't really spoken out about it, and I feel like being in the documentary as executive producers being that catalyst that prompted him to speak out about it at Wimbledon, for example.
Yeah, and I think because of the stigma against veganism, there's a lot of people that we've spoken to that have had a hard time coming out about it. It's almost like they're in the closet, like they're so embarrassed about it in some way.
Right, so they're getting the health benefits and they believe in that, that social return and the environmentalism, all of the things why plant-based is a good thing, but they're hesitant to actually come out about it. Right. Maybe the film's actually helped them come out because it's changing the culture.
We've had people, celebrities, famous musicians that said, our whole band is plant-based and has been for years, but we don't want to come out yet. But when your film comes out, then we'll start telling people. We've also had athletes that we've approached that have been eating this way for a long time and don't even want to tell anybody.
So they didn't want to be in the film?
Well, they didn't. They didn't
want that negative stigma, I guess.
No, it wasn't that. They didn't want to give away their advantage. So they had an athletic advantage. So some people said, I don't want to really let this out because until it's really mainstream, I'd rather keep this advantage. I'm better off day to day, and I'm going to have long.
What kind of sports? I'm not pushing on the names.
Yeah, no. So NFL, NBA, yeah. Some pretty major athletes that are eating this way that just don't want to announce it.
So this is, just to wrap up this interview, this is one of the biggest trends in food you think coming? And also, what excites you most about the movement? Obviously, the Game Changers has been massive, but there's loads of other aspects and things going on. if you just take a step back and remove the game changers from the equation, what other things are really giving you excitement?
Well, I think it's the, in the food space, it's the plant-based burgers, the plant-based milks. I think it gives people those options, right? And so even though, eating whole plant foods is going to be optimal, certainly, if you're at Carl's Jr., is it better to get the beef burger or is it better to get the Beyond Burger? And you're just way better off getting the Beyond Burger. Now, if you were to compare that to like a lentil and yam stew or something, that's going to be healthier than that, the Beyond Burger, right? So it's always compared to what? But these plant-based meat alternatives, they're healthier, they're accessible, they give people, as a transitionary food, people it's more, their familiar taste and texture. So I think those are really important. So I think the timing of the film is also great because, even if you're just going to go and get fast food in the States, you can go pretty much to any of the fast food joints now, and there's food available. Again, not saying to eat that most of the time, but I think it's great that these and the plant-based milks now.
Do you think you made that message clear enough in the film? Do you think you separated out the unprocessed and the processed vegan food?
Yeah,
I'll be honest. Like, I hope you respect. I've watched it once, and this is I might watch it again and think differently. But one potential criticism I had was that for somebody not familiar with this space, they probably watch that and go, "Oh, I saw those recipes at the end. They look cheesy. They look processed. I really, really like it. I'm going to go for the Beyond Burger." So was that like part of the strategy? And are you aware of that?
Yeah, I mean, we try to say, it is, if you listen carefully, when we talk about the science based on whole plant foods, we try to say that, but the film...
There's the scripted thing, if you go back 5 times, I'm sure you're right, you are right, because I do remember you mentioning it, but I mean, on face value, people just watching it once, when they can only take away 1 or 2 things from the film, like that would be one potential criticism. I'm just trying to make this constructive.
No, that's good, I mean, I think, to us, it wasn't trying to tell people what they should be eating, the types of food. It wasn't prescribing a particular type of plant-based diet, because in the plant-based sort of diet community, you've got, you should be low fat, or you should be raw, uncooked foods. You should be high fat. Whatever. There's different. It should be all whole foods, or you should have some protein powder, or you shouldn't, There's lots of different disagreements, right, within the sort of plant-based community. But we weren't trying to prescribe any particular diet. What we were trying to do is, first of all, we were trying to show my journey and, and cover what I learned. But we were trying to basically show the facts, dispel some myths about the fact, the myth that you need to eat meat and animal products for protein. So that was the goal of the film, not to tell people you should be eating all whole foods, or you should be eating this or that, or high protein, high carb, low carb. We weren't trying to prescribe a diet. We were trying to dispel myths and let people make their own decision. And again, we're not trying to tell people to go vegan or go vegetarian. We're trying to
just put the information out.
Put the information out, let people make their own decision. And then, on the website, we're going to go into more detail, breaking up. It's better to split, plants and animal products. Get as many calories as you can, if not 100% from plants. And then within that, get as many whole foods instead of processed foods. So we go into that more on the website.
Cool, we've got to come to an end, but just like 1 or 2 really quick questions. The Arnold Schwarzenegger alligator, bottom left, whose idea was that?
That was just there. It's not a real alligator, it's a movie prop.
Was it just there? I'm sure somebody deliberately placed it there and
that was just
positioned
sitting
it
there.
And then put the lower third, which scrolled out, that people's eyes were drawn to it.
No. So people sort of assumed, like there was also some books that were shown in the film and said, "Oh, you placed that as a product." They were just sitting there. We didn't take any product placement. We didn't do a favor by putting it.
I'm not saying like product placement, but I think somebody from your videography team would have said, "You've got an alligator there." That probably helps, because it's going to make Arnie not look preachy. He's not some freaking...
No, it wasn't it at all.
Really?
I was there. I was there from the beginning of the shoot.
Wow.
It was just sitting there. Cool. It was just random.
I thought it was like a strategic thing.
No, we actually thought about taking it out.
Wow.
But we just thought, we'll leave it. So it's just naturally there, sitting under his pool table.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks for having me,
thanks
Klaus.
for everything you've helped us with, and all of this exclusive content and interviews and stuff. And any closing remarks about where the film's distributed or where people can find out information? I think you said it.
Yeah, I think it's on most of the major transactional platforms. It's going to be on iTunes October 16th, and go check it out. Tell your friends to watch it, and if you want to follow us on social media, it's Game Changers Movie on Instagram and on Facebook, and GC Movie on Twitter. The website, once again, gamechangersmovie.com.